Executive produced by Martin Scorsese and selected as the Indian entry for the Oscars is Homebound. The Hindi language film takes a heartbreaking look at the complexity and passion and suffering located in the core of every human being as they reconcile with their dreams, desires, and connections to others. The story follows two childhood friends as they aspire to become police officers, a job that promises them the dignity they have long been denied. However, as they draw closer to their dream, mounting desperation threatens to undermine their friendship. Without further ado, it's time to introduce the stars of the film: Vishal Jethwa, Ishaan Khatter, and director Neeraj Ghaywan. Nice to meet you. Hello. Hi. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and roll a clip.
कोई खैरात में मेवा नहीं बट रहा है, हमारे हक का है। साला अफसर तो गधा था ही, तुम भी कम नहीं हो बे। काहे हर बार जनरल में भरते हो? चौड़ में जाके टिक लगाओ एसी वाले डिब्बे पे। साला किसी का औकात ना हो क्या
कि हम डरते हैं कि कल को पुलिस में भर्ती होने के बाद भी ये लोग थाने में झाड़ू ना लगाए हमसे। पूरे 7 विकेट चटका के मैच जिताए हम, पर कंधे पे बैठ के पूरा गांव कौन घुमा? वो सुगलवा। हक हमारा था, पर जब ट्रॉफी लेने की बारी आई तो फिर से हमारी जात दिख गई।
साले, तुम तो मानते हो ना कि तुम मैन ऑफ द मैच थे? हाँ?
सब हम चाहे जितने विकेट उखाड़ लें, एक सरकारी फार्म की कैटेगरी वाले डिब्बे भर की औकात है हमारी, और बस वहीं तक सीमित है, वही हमारी पहचान है।
Now, before we get into the dynamics of that clip, because that is the heart of the movie, is this caste system, I do want to say that it's been a long time since you put out your last movie. It's been about 10 years. So can you talk about, what brought you out of, quote unquote, retirement?
Retired on the first film. First of all, thank you all for staying back. That was, how do you follow up with Mr. Guillermo del Toro? That's a tough exercise, so thank you for staying back. We'll try to match at least 5% of what he's spoken. Yeah, we also sneak in some words on AI and stuff. Well, Homebound started with this op-ed essay on the New York Times. This was introduced to me by my producer, Somen Mishra. This essay is written by Basharat Peer. It was a true story that happened in India, and it was a story of friendship and what happened to these friends during their journey in the pandemic. Now, when I read this story, it was obviously quite gut-wrenching. I was very moving, and I wanted to use that as a base, friendship as a strong vehicle to talk about bigger concerns that the world is now grappling with. Is that, what makes migrants leave their homes in rural India or across the world? What are the things that motivate them? It's not just jobs, it's not just money, it's also existential, when people move. And there is an attempt to sort of humanize their experiences of marginalized communities across the world and to take away the overt nature of them being reduced to statistics and abstraction everywhere. There was an urgent need to humanize their experiences so that we can see their pain and see what goes through and show connection as a strong force of empathy. That's the intent that we started with. And to talk about that, because it's a story of a Muslim and a Dalit boy, I leaned into my own childhood. I grew up in a Dalit household as part of the caste system. So,
this is a question for all of you. Something that is so endearing to me in watching this film is how it talks about the suffering of marginalized communities within India, but it's also not shying away from the way that they still try to live normally. They laugh, they fall in love with other people, they smile. So can you kind of talk about balancing those two things? Because it easily could have just been a story about these two boys who are sad all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Destiny, thank you for asking this question because, you know, one of the quotes that has kept me moving, going with this film, and I used to write that quote on every draft that I've written. It's a quote by Rilke, which it says that, let everything happen to you. No beauty and terror, just keep going, no feeling is final. That has kept me going through this film because I wanted to dismantle the victimhood of marginalized communities and to bring in the joy, bring in the human nature of it, like, you know, present them as humans and not just victims of state subjugation or oppression. There are also people who love, their families love each other, they have humor, they have, you know, good food, and they, you know, all of those things, you know, that make them human. It was essential to bring that in.
Ishaan and Vishal, this question's for both of you, but I want to break it down this way. The story is about caste and how discriminated both of your characters are. But as actors, Ishaan, you come from a acting, filmmaking family. Vishal, you are an actor. And can you kind of talk about how you manage to relate to the characters that you're playing? Because it's amazing.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. This is a film that we are very, very proud of, so it's really a privilege to be able to share this with you. As far as your question is concerned, Destiny, I think we approached this from the lens of, not that it was a film about caste, so to say, but a film about these two boys, and to humanize them first, like Neeraj mentioned. And it was very important for us to bridge the gap, you know, something that Neeraj made very clear to us early on. And by the way, a little background on Mr. Ghaywan here, not that he needs it for most people in India, but he's one of the most wonderful directors who's on the bucket list of every working actor in India. And he made a...
Thank you.
And should be on the bucket list of every working actor in the world. And it's really a privilege to work with him. He made a beautiful film called Masan 10 years ago that won 2 of the most prestigious awards at On Certain Regard in Cannes, and he's followed this up after 10 years. And the reason is that he is so deeply invested in the work that he does that it cannot but come from an honest place, from a guttural place, and he works very hard. So he'd done 3 years of work on the script before we even stepped in, which was a springboard for us as actors. And one thing he made very clear to us was, these are characters that are grossly underrepresented on screen. And therefore, we have a responsibility. And you're not just representing these two boys, you're representing millions of Shoaibs and Chandans across India. And so the idea for us was to bridge the gap and walk towards these characters because, you know, we can't pretend to have the lived experience. But what he really urged us to do was immerse ourselves as best we can. And so we did 2 months of a dialect workshop, after which we did something he likes to call an immersion exercise, where we went to these villages in northern India, in Barabanki, and we spent days just interacting with communities, with people, just talking to them. We were struck by the generosity they showed us. They invited us into their homes, they fed us. We read our script over there, and we came back with something indescribable and, you know, ephemeral, and we carried that feeling through the film. So I think that was something that helped us get closer to these characters.
Hello everyone, namaste. Thank you so much for being here. So many emotions, little nervous, excited, happy, and so proud. So proud that we are here with our film Homebound, which is so important, and we are representing our country. And our film is official entry to Academy Awards, and having Martin Scorsese, like legendary Martin Scorsese sir, on board with us. So it feels really amazing. Please pinch me. I'm in my dream, I feel. I knew it. Shoaib being Shoaib to Chandan. But thank you so much for this beautiful question. And okay, so uh, before signing the film, I even did not know the importance and the historic context of the film, which is Homebound. And but after that, I got to know so much. So Neeraj sir gave us one book called Annihilation of Caste, and I understood how discrimination and caste system and a lot of things, the concern we have in the society, and how deeply it is there and rooted. So I got to know that first, and about the workshop, how we became Chandan and Shoaib. So sir did not want us to just play these roles on a shallow level. He wanted us to live the character, and for that we did a lot of workshops. We went to a lot of villages and spoke to marginalized community. And tried to know their lived experience, because we come from a different background, and we were just trying to empathize with them, because this is very important these days, that sometimes what we do is we see religion, caste, or color, or their nationality, and we do not see the human behind them. And that is very important, to empathize and see the human, and try to be kind with each other. So we just, I personally, what we did, there was many kind of transformation we had to go through. Physical is just a normal thing, but still knowing the life of these two characters was little challenging for us, and for that we did a lot of workshops, and we went to villages, and I read the script where Chandan Kumar lives in the film. So I think that was it. And Neeraj sir is the biggest guide. The biggest guide is the best director to work with, and the kind of atmosphere he creates on set for actors, you feel like this is the best thing happened to an actor. I think I'll keep on going. It's better I stop, but yeah, this was it.
These boys keep praising, but you guys are already in the film, so.
I love that.
We'll get to the next one.
We'll get to Martin Scorsese in a second, but I do want to point out that you are part of a rare breed of Indian directors that belongs to a certain demographic. So kind of talk about that, and then also this movie again is much more about caste. It's more about the humanity and how people navigate this system. So can you talk about like a cast in less than 3 minutes? No, can you talk about why, I don't know, talk about how that works in India, why this was so important for you to put out, and that kind of thing.
Wow, 2,000-year-old history in 3 minutes. Okay, so.
We can go over a little.
Make a reel about it.
Yeah, less than 3 minutes. Caste system is like 2,000-year-old rigid system that divides society into social groups, and that is purely on the basis of birth. And the hierarchy it's a graded system. People on the top get all the privilege, and people at the bottom, they don't. And people outside of that system are thought of as polluted, and they're considered to be the erstwhile untouchables. And I myself come from whenever in a way, the name gives that pattern. So the last name, the surnames, sort of sometimes give away your caste. And it's sort of like, it has this etymology to it. It has this coded thing to it that you can decipher the caste. And when people ask me still my name, and there's that awkward silence for a brief second that feels like 2,000-year-old. It just freezes you at the moment. And I have sort of masqueraded myself as a member of the upper caste for the longest part of my life. And I lived that lie. It was debilitating to go about living this lie, because you're always watching over your back. You're thinking that someone would spot me, someone would figure out who I am, and they would abandon me. That fear of abandonment created a big sense of insecurity, and that sort of also drove my artistic side in a way. The name, Shakespeare said that, what's in a name, but please come to India. It's like it's always about the name. And another way to actually make you understand the caste system is, there's an analogy in the film. There's a term that we all know from 2019, which is social distancing. Now, we've been socially distanced for 2,000 years. This is a new for us. And like, if you all can imagine for a brief second that you've been told that you have the virus and you've been socially distanced because you were born in a certain family. You are quarantined, you cannot intermingle with people, and your entire life is you're socially distanced from people. There is no test, there is no PCR test. Your birth is tested positive. And you cannot, because there's also endogamy, because you cannot marry outside, you can only marry an infected person. And now, once you are cordoned off from the society, if you want to get education, good luck with that. But even if you do, you have to go sit at the back of a classroom, on the floor, or on gunny bags. You cannot, you don't get any public health, you don't get public infrastructure, you don't get the benefits of the state. You're completely aloof, so you don't get any social capital to move upwards. You and your entire ancestry and the generations that come forward will always be socially distanced, and you're infected. And there's no scientific reasoning to it. There is just this gaslighting for 1,000 years that, it's your past karma, and that's why you're here. And all this while, the terrifying thing is that to wonder with this irony that all this while, the virus was not inside of you. It was in the mind of the person who socially distanced you. Mm-hmm. The shame was onto that person. Sorry, got a little carried away.
I have my last question for you. I do want to ask about Martin Scorsese. I listened to an interview and he said he was kind of supervising you while he was, or for lack of a better term, he was looking over the script while he was working on Killers of the Flower Moon, and that is so insane because that movie's like 4 hours long. Where did he find the time? But can you talk about very quickly, how did that come to be, and what did you guys partner on?
Merita Toscon de Plantier, my producer Masan, she was also co-producer on this film. She made this association possible with Mr. Scorsese, which for a long part, even still, I still can't believe that he's part of the film. And such a selfless gentleman. He's truly the master of our times. And I'll tell you the reason why. He started out with reading the script. He read the script and he told me how to go about it. He mentored on the script. We did back and forth over there. And then he, again, at the edit stage, he saw the first cut, and then he did a couple of rounds with me on the edit. And he would guide me at every step. He would give me the smallest notes of here the pacing is a little too off. If you drop off 4 frames here, it could do this. And then in overall structure, he gave us a big mantra that he said that stick with the boys. I had a lot of these ancillary characters and these arcs that needed to I had to have that focus. So he gave me that focus. And all of this selflessly. He had no reason to do it, but the master and the gentleman that he is, he offered me that space, and he gave light to all of our stories that we are usually invisibilized. So thank you, Mr. Scorsese.
Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this beautiful film. I appreciate that. Thank you.